I appreciate you all coming out tonight. My name is Nathan Qualls. I'm the Executive Director with New Water. I've been in that role all of like 4 months now, but I've been with the organization for the last 16 years. And just excited about this project. This is some of our oldest infrastructure in the Green Bay area as it relates to wastewater, and we're really excited to get it renewed so it can continue to serve our area for many, many more decades. So I appreciate you coming. Run through some introductions, and then I'll give you some background about New Water if you're not familiar with us, and then I'll turn it over to Adam for project background and the specifics that you're all looking for. Lisa Saru is the Director of Technical Services with New Water and has been the project manager for us on this project. And since the time of when we got started till now, we've both had job changes, right? So I was taking over the Executive Director role, and she took on my former position and is still leading up the project for us. Adam Shelton is our project manager from our consulting team with Brown & Caldwell, and then we have contractors representing Michael's Trenchless,
yep, right here,
and Engineering and Construction Innovations. So they're also joining us. The last time we did the public information meeting on this a couple of years ago, we hadn't, of course, gotten the contractors on board, so we're excited we now have the contractors on board, and we can provide even more details about the project. So who is New Water? New Water is the brand of the Green Bay Metropolitan Sewerage District. We're the regional wastewater conveyance and treatment utility. We're a public utility. We serve the 15 municipalities that you see there. As an example, the city of Green Bay is our largest customer, right? So we don't send invoices to homeowners. We send invoices to the city of Green Bay, the city of De Pere, the villages, those kinds of things. So our role is to convey the wastewater from those 15 municipal customers, treat it, and then discharge it to the Fox River. So we have 2 wastewater treatment facilities. One is in Green Bay. It's right at the mouth of the Fox River near Bay Beach Road, close to Bay Beach Amusement Park. And then the other is in De Pere. It's between Brown County Fairgrounds and Ashwaubenon Park. The green area is the service area for the Green Bay facility. So it conveys the wastewater to that treatment plant in the city of Green Bay. And then in orange is the area that goes to the De Pere treatment facility. So we've been serving this community since we were formed in 1931. And the pipes that we're talking about rehabilitating have been serving almost that entire time. Most of these pipes were constructed in the 1930s. We serve the families, businesses, industries, commercial entities in this area. We do it around the clock, 24/7, 365, despite the weather, and are really focused on the environment and making sure we convey that wastewater, treat it, return it to the environment, meeting our wastewater discharge permit. So we mentioned the 2 treatment facilities. There's 78 miles of pipes, interceptor pipes, that New Water owns, and some of those pipes are the ones that we're talking about with this particular project. In 2024, we cleaned 15 billion gallons of water. Takes about, if you think about that volume of wastewater that we treat, it would fill Lambeau, like the bowl of Lambeau, it would fill that in about a week. So that's kind of like our average flow rate, just to give you some perspective on that. We are an environmental organization. We are focused on water, and this is our vision, protecting our most valuable resource, water. So I'm going to turn it over to the folks closer to the project, give you the details that you guys are looking for here. So go ahead, Adam. Thank you.
So the Downtown Interceptors Renewal Project. I'm going to do a project overview. So these interceptors are in downtown Green Bay, therefore the namesake of Downtown Interceptor Renewal Project. So let's first discuss the project need. The interceptor sewers that we're rehabilitating here were constructed in the 1930s. Kind of what Nate said. These 2 photos here are actual photos from the 2 interceptor sewers that we'll be rehabilitating. And so you can kind of get a gist of the longevity that these sewers have lasted. One on the left is the Fox River Crossing interceptor sewer. It was installed in a tunnel, and that's how they did it back then. A couple guys getting very cozy in a hole together. The East Fox River Interceptor sewer is here on the right, again installed in a tunnel made of concrete. You can kind of see all the formwork and stuff there. This is actually the outside of the concrete interceptor sewer. So kind of some cool photos there, but it gives you guys a little bit of taste of how old these interceptor sewers are. One quick note on that, generally concrete interceptor sewers, design life's about 75 years. So add 75 to that 1930s, we're looking at right at early 2000s is when it's kind of how long they were designed for. So pretty standard in the industry is to see that 75-year lifespan. So these are some photos. These 3 photos here are condition photos. We did New Water did a condition assessment of the interceptor sewers. They do that on a regular program. And these are some actual photos from inside the interceptor sewers. So you can see some, there's incrustations that block flow. They catch rags. They do a whole bunch of different stuff. There's water coming in, obviously with the East River and the Fox River. There's high groundwater table. There's water coming in. That water that comes into the interceptor sewer then flows down the pipe and has to get treated by New Water. It costs a lot of money to treat that wastewater, so we're just trying to get some of that stuff out of there. And then general corrosion. It's difficult to see here, but there's just general corrosion in the interceptor sewer. So this is that same horseshoe shape. If I go back to this, you can see this horseshoe shape here. This is that same horseshoe shape in the interceptor sewer. And so you can see the condition of the interceptor sewers is less than original condition here. So these, as Nate mentioned, there's 2 treatment facilities. The Green Bay facility treats a portion of that wastewater. These interceptor sewers carry about 65% of the wastewater to the Green Bay facility. And so these interceptor sewers are considered critical because of how much wastewater they convey to the Green Bay facility. High-level notes about construction cost here. It's about a $30 million cost, and that's funded through wholesale rates that New Water charges to their 15 municipal customers. Nate went through those. There was a list of those municipal customers, Village of Alloway, City of Green Bay, De Pere, etc. And so these improvements are needed to revitalize this aging infrastructure. It's important. We continue to let them deteriorate, then it would be digging up these interceptor sewers rather than doing a trenchless rehabilitation project. And I'll talk about the means and methods, the methodologies that will rehabilitate them. So, real quick, let's go over the project location. So there's 3 different interceptor sewers that we're talking about here. They're all kind of in the downtown area of Green Bay. Again, that's the namesake. There's a little portion right down here that's in the Village of Alloway. So the 3 interceptor sewers are the Fox River Crossing Interceptor, the magenta, the East Fox River Interceptor in green, and then all of this blue and red is the East River Interceptor. The East River Interceptor is we split it up into 2 different parts. There's the existing interceptor that's currently in use conveying wastewater, and that's those 2 blue portions. We will rehabilitate that. And then there's the old East River Interceptor, which is all in red and parallels the East River. That was decommissioned in the late 1970s when another interceptor was installed. The thought at that time was, let's leave this large conduit underground open in case we need to cross a road with another utility, use it for storage. There's a lot of different reasons to use these pipes underground. They were never quite used that way, and so we're just going to go through and properly abandon those. Sometimes you see out in the news and stuff, things like sinkholes and all those different things. We're going to abandon it so none of that stuff happens. It's a preventative thing that we're going to do. So, diving a little bit deeper on each of these interceptor sewers. Fox River Crossing, I've got acronyms for all of these things. That's what engineers do, is provide acronyms for everything. So that's again this pink line here. Generally speaking, it's located on a main street. What we're rehabilitating is about 2,100 feet long. That goes from the Hampton Inn all the way to outside the pharmacy over here, where Quincy Street kind of goes through. Contractor selected for this work is Engineering and Construction Innovations. As we mentioned, we've got a contractor here that if we need to answer some questions about some of this, we can do that. And we are going to rehabilitate this with a spiral wound liner. So I'll get into some of the rehabilitation technologies in just a little bit. The East Fox River Interceptor is in orange. It's all of this. you guys are familiar with this shape of interceptor sewer already. It's a little bit odd for our line of work. It's a funny shape. We're used to circular pipes. It's kind of what we're familiar with. This is 4,200 feet long. It's 42 and 48 inch equivalent pipe. So the equivalent is just, it's because of it's an odd shape. It's actually like 6 feet tall and like 3 feet wide, but that is equivalent of a 48 inch circular pipe. So that is under the west curb line of Adams Street, right downtown. And what we're working on is from Mason Street all the way to Main Street. So Mason Street is an overpass at that location, and our project goes from there all the way to Main Street. Again, Engineering and Construction Innovations is doing this portion of the work. Then the East River Interceptor. So again, this is broken up into several different parts here. The green that you're seeing here is about 7,000 feet of 30, 42, and 48 inch pipe. There's a downtown section that goes from Quincy Street all the way over to generally East High School and zigzags through the neighborhood over there. Then there's the upstream portion. It's primarily in Green Bay and Village of Alloway parks. And this is all going to be performed by Michael's Trenchless. And then the abandonment portion of this as well. So this is, I think it's actually closer to 9,000 feet. And I say that because we added a little bit more that the Village of Alloway wanted us to tack on after this presentation was prepared. So there's 24 and 36 inch sewer that we're going to go and abandon. We're in essence going to find the manholes, abandon the pipe, bury the manholes. And this is, again, going to be performed by Michael's. So I'm going to get into a little bit of the planning that went into some of this and then the design of the project. So a couple years ago when we started this project, we went through an alternatives analysis to review the condition of the pipe. I showed you some photos of that already. We explored options for both rehabilitation and replacement of those pipes. You know, replacement we try not to do very much unless the pipe is in severe enough condition that it can't be rehabilitated in its existing condition. We considered a whole bunch of different factors, constructability of those options, a whole bunch of different community factors, environmental impacts that might occur from each option. And we came up with a recommendation, and then that recommendation tied a cost to it. This over here is basically the matrix, all the things that we considered. We worked with New Water to weight that to come to what we thought the best decision was for the community and for New Water. So what we came up with was a full structural rehabilitation of the entire sewer system, and we call it a trenchless rehabilitation methodologies. Go into that a little bit here. So for site one, I mentioned we're going to do spiral wound lining. So over on the right would be the existing pipe. And so these pictures are taken from some other stuff. This isn't actually our interceptor sewers, they're just example photos. But you can see the existing concrete pipe. They take this machine, put it inside the pipe, wind the pipe around, and then this is your end product. And so above grade, you don't see a whole lot of disturbance. Below grade, you basically get like a new pipe that is inside of the pipe.
Spiral wound lining is a trenchless technology method used to install a lining to replace deteriorated underground pipe without digging it up. In the simplest terms, it is a pipe within a pipe. Here's how it works. A liner constructed from PVC or HDPE is fed from spools through existing manholes or access points into the deteriorated pipeline. From there, the material is mechanically or manually locked together to form a new liner, capable of resisting all applied loads that, depending on the final design and condition of the host pipe, could extend the life of the existing pipeline for up to 50 years or more.
So pretty neat. New pipe inside of the existing pipe. It'll add an additional 50 years or more to the service life of that pipe, which is pretty, without digging up Main Street. If you remember, this particular pipe is under Main Street, and that would be very impactful to the community. Okay, so the East Fox River project, I'm going to stay over here for a second because I've got another video. So we're going to do slip lining of the East Fox River project. And so this is again down Adams Street from Mason Street to Main Street. This is a very straight segment of pipe that's got that odd shape. And so the odd shape reduces the amount of options that we have for a good rehabilitation of the pipe. Some impacts that you might see with this is, there's going to be a deep pit. Basically dig a hole down to the top of the pipe. We insert pipe, we can push pipe both directions for a couple thousand feet. And so again, it's going to be a fully structural rehabilitation. And here's kind of how this works. So here's the pit that you can see. Dig down to the pipe, take these sections of pipe, push them into place, and it's just like laying a new pipe above grade, because you're pushing it into the existing pipe. And so the primary thing you're going to see above grade is some of these pipe, probably a crane or a backhoe. Everything is, all the magic's going to happen underground though, and largely you won't see a whole lot of that. There'll be one slip lining pit in Adams Street. 4,200 feet of pipe rehabilitated from a single location, which is pretty cool. So, in the East River Interceptor, we're going to do cured in place pipe, CIPP. It's a common acronym in the industry. Pretty much what happens here is you take a tube. I don't need to explain this. So I have a video of this one too. This is a picture of what happens though. You take this tube, it gets inverted underground. You cure it with heat, hot water or steam or ultraviolet light, and then all of this becomes hardened. And so what you see above grade is like that. And I'll play this video.
CIPP is a method used to replace a deteriorated underground pipe without digging it up. In the simplest terms, it is a pipe within a pipe. Here's how it works. A tube made of polyester felt or fiberglass, designed to the appropriate thickness and length for the application, is saturated with resin. This is also referred to as the wet-out process. The resin-saturated tube is then installed into the existing deteriorated pipe by inverting the tube into position using water or air pressure, or by pulling the tube into place and inflating it. Once in place, the tube is cured or hardened under pressure by using either heat in the form of hot water or steam, or by using ultraviolet light.
So those are the techniques that we're going to utilize on the project to rehabilitate all these pipelines. I want to talk about impacts because that's probably what you guys are here for tonight. So for the Fox River Crossing Interceptor, there's going to be some sidewalk and trail closures. There's going to be some traffic control on Main Street while we do some of this work. You'll see some trucks at existing manholes that kind of look like this. That's roughly the kind of setup that we're talking about. And there's going to be some temporary conveyance pipes. Temporary conveyance basically takes a portion of the wastewater that's in the existing pipe, pumps it out so that they can work in the pipe more safely, and then it pumps it over land and will discharge it downstream of the project. So it's basically like dewatering the portion of pipe that's in the middle of that. So those are some things that you'll see on the Fox River Crossing along Main Street there. Talked a little bit about the slip lining pit. This is kind of what a slip lining pit might look like. There's a couple of different, this is a round configuration here. This is a square configuration. You know, with this type of excavation, you'll have a backhoe that's sitting. And so we're actually going to be installing this in Adams Street. There will be one block of Adams Street that's going to be closed down for a pretty significant time, 6 months or so. So then there's going to be some traffic control impacts with that. And then for cured in place pipe, again, it's another rehabilitation technology that requires some dewatering. So you'll see temporary conveyance pipes like this above ground. At crossings, we'll vary those. And then there might be some ramps in certain occasions where we'll have to go over top of those pipes. Generally speaking, this is the kind of operation that you're going to see above grade. I showed another picture where there was an on-site wet out. That could occur as well, but I don't think that's fully been determined. So there's disruptions to trails and stuff along the East River. There's trails that go all along there. There's some driveway and sidewalk impacts they'd be short duration, and then some traffic control that would occur during this work as well. But there's not going to be any stoppage of sewer service. There's nothing like that. All of your sewers empty to the city of Green Bay, which then empties into New Water's sewer system. So there won't be interruption to that service. These pipes allow your service to remain. Real briefly on schedule here. So We have 2 contractors in the room right now. They'll control day-to-day operations and what is most efficient for them to schedule. There's some restrictions based on some customer communications. So we were talking about St. Clair reconstruction briefly. That's going to occur later, but we have some restrictions in our contract that are contractual requirements that the contractor has to kind of work around. The notice to proceed for both of these projects have been issued. We expect the East River Interceptors to start in June, and then work on the Downtown Interceptors project, which is the Fox River crossing and the East Fox River project will start in earnest in October of this year, with final completion, restoration, and everything by October of next year, and likely faster than that. So that's the entirety of the presentation. So we'd welcome questions if you guys have them.